All right, thank you everybody for joining us today for our 2024 R3 release webinar. The first thing I want to talk about is the release schedule, and we can change this slide to the next screen. We can talk about that. There we go. So here's our release plan. Obviously, today, right now, we're having our release webinar. And our release is going to be a little different than we've had for a while. Normally, we do a release across every tenant, every server at the same time, usually like on a Sunday night, so it's ready for you on Monday morning. The difference is that this time we are doing some infrastructure back-end work, and it takes a little bit longer to do that. And so in order to accommodate that and not have our clients down for a while, we're going to be doing it in pieces, basically. As you can see here, we've got the EU and UK that are going to be done first. In fact, it's going to be done over the weekend, I believe. So you can see that on there. And then we're going to do Canada and the UK on Monday morning. So it'll be available for our Canadian clients. And then we're going to wait a week, just because we don't want the system down during the week, to do the USA clients. So what you're going to see here today is not going to be available for everybody until a week from Monday. So some of you will be able to see some of these things immediately next week, and then the US clients will be able to see it in about 9 days. So it's just the reality of how it's just going to take a little bit of time. So a little different, and we apologize that there will be a little bit of delay for you folks that are in the US. Hopefully you're going to like what we see today. So, it'll be great. So let me switch over to my browser here. You can go ahead and look at the actual system. So here we go. Okay. So here you can see our release webinar agenda today. So we're going to start talking about recruiting and some big changes, or some great enhancements, I should say, to the question sets. And so we'll talk about those in here. There's also a change to the job board and how they work for the external and internal job boards. Our HR enhancements, you'll see those listed there, and self-service and payroll. And then we do have a new mobile app that's available, and I'd like to try to show that to you today. I'm going to see if I can get it my phone to work. I tried it on the partner webinar a few days ago, and didn't work so well in my presentation. The system, it works fine, but the presentation, it just didn't want to work with the presentation. So hopefully I'll get it to work today, and we'll go from there. So let's get started on the recruiting enhancements. So now what we're going to talk about is the application question sets. If you're familiar with those on the recruiting side, these are the questions that your applicants or your candidates answer when they are applying for a position. So we're going to go into our settings to see this. And here are the question sets. I kind of preloaded myself here with some question sets. You'll notice it's right here under recruiting administration is question sets. Now there's some things that might be under code tables, and I'll talk certainly about the job publishing sites as well, because that's where we enable them. But there are some things under code tables I'll talk about. But let me go into a question set here just to get you an idea of what this looks like. Now, I did have a webinar on this yesterday, but I want to just briefly talk about this. So one is the dependent question set. So what that means is that when you ask a question, sometimes you want to have a follow-up question. So depending on how they answer, you may want another question or two to pop up based off of whatever they answer. So just give you an idea, I've got this question set. You'll see here, do you have experience used with John Deere mowers? And then how many years of experience do you have with John Deere mowers? So pretty straightforward. This is a yes or no question. This is where the code table would come into play. Yes, no, that's that code table, a custom code table. And what we've added is this, what we call conditional. And you'll see here, conditions when all conditions are met or when any condition is met. So this is basically and or. So if you're familiar with those, so in my situation, I'm saying and. If I add multiple ones, all of them would need to be true for this to show up. If I choose this, then one of them needs to be true. So in my situation, I'm saying, do you have experience with John Deere mowers? If it's equal to yes, I want to ask how many years of experience they have. All right, and then I could use the other things as far as like, is it required? Is it a knockout? Do I want to save this in some value and target and stuff like that? So all that is still the same, but that's what I can do as far as this is concerned. And I'll show you what it looks like when somebody actually answers that question. So you'll see here, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm at a job posting right here. And so you can see the job posting for pitch maintenance. I'll go ahead and just apply. And let me just do this very quickly. cnmemo.com. Right. And here's my question set. Let me just skip past these. I forgot to ask these questions. So give me just a second to answer these. I think I can just skip them. There we go. All right. So here's my question set. Now here's the question. Do you have experience with John Deere mowers? Now you'll notice the one about years of experience is not here yet. So let me answer these questions. The ones that are required here are with the stars. You'll notice if I hit submit, they're all required. And so as soon as I answer yes here, boom, this one shows up. And then I would type in, I've got 6 years or something like that. All right, and I'll just keep going through here and answer these. So that's how that works there. Now, I as you see here, if I choose no, it's going to not show it. If I choose yes, it does. So I think very useful enhancement, makes this really nice for your question sets and for how that works here. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply to this position because we'll talk about our next thing, which is the scoring within the job posting. So I'm going to go to the job posting here. And a few releases ago, we added what we refer to as a basic minimum qualification and a score on the assessment. So in the assessment, you might want to score people a certain way depending on how they answer questions. So perhaps you ask for, what's your education level, or do you have experiences, or something like that. So you might score them on that. And so here you'll see where I've got my 3 employees or 3 candidates who have applied, and we used to only have BMQ, and we would show this as basic minimum qualification. This person met 2 out of 2, but now we're showing the score also. All right, and this is a column. I can move it around. I could hide other columns if I don't want to have that. So it is a column you can choose to customize there if you like. And you'll also notice right here where I can show the scores that are greater than a certain percentage, or equal to a percentage, or less than. So perhaps I want to see everybody who's got more than 60%. All right, type that in there, and it's just showing me my 1. So pretty useful there, especially if you have, I've got 3, so it's pretty simple. But imagine I had 30 or 300. Want to, look at people who have a higher score. Somebody's got 90% or above, or something like that. So really useful to be able to see that there. This also is available if I go to self-service and I go to my job postings when I am looking at the job postings. So if I pick one out, let's just pick food vendor as an example. Here's that right there. There's the score column. So you can see I don't have anybody with a score, but you see it's there. So I can use it. So it's available in self-service as well. Now, sometimes you want to send a follow-up question set to your candidates. Perhaps they've gone through a round of interviews and now it's round 2 and there's some pre-interview questions you want to ask them. So now you can send another set of questions to that person. You can't resend the same ones you've already sent because obviously they've already answered them. But if you do have another set of questions, and I've got a few, I want to send it to them, maybe a question set C as an example. I don't know what that is, but question set C, I can send it to them. So that will send this person an email with a link to answer question set C. And in fact, you'll see here, if I go down to my email/SMS, I've got the email that they would have received with the link. And this is going to be answering a question set, which you just saw me answer a question set, but here you go. All right. So, very simple to be able to do this. Of course, just like that. And then when they submit this, of course, first off, you'll notice the language. They could change it to different languages. This, of course, does require the questions be in different languages. If you don't have this in, let's say, French, and they choose French, it's going to show it in English. But if you do have it configured that way, they can see it in the language that they're comfortable with. And then they can submit those right there. Now, if I do send them a question set and they don't answer it, I can resend it. So question set C is not going to be there anymore. But if I go here and I choose this here, you'll notice it says basically resend this. So it sends them the same link as a reminder. Now, I just sent it a moment ago, so I probably don't need to remind the person yet. They probably haven't checked their email, but maybe a day from now, 2 days from now, next week, they haven't answered it, I can resend it. It just sends them an email with a reminder to answer those questions. So just so you can see what that looks like, sending a reminder to complete the questionnaire with a link. And as soon as they answer that one, it's going to, not show it in the list anymore. And of course, it's not going to have that resend thing. And the same idea over here, I can do this as the hiring manager. So I can come in here to questions and I can send right here, exact same thing, question set, whatever, and send it to them. So hiring manager is able to do that as well. All right, so those are the changes in the question set. So dependent questions, the visibility to the scores and the filtering, the post-application question sets, and reminding them about those question sets. One final one that we added in here is in the configuration. When I go to my job publishing sites, you'll have the choice for where do you want to ask the questions. So the career site and the intranet site are two sites that we Criterion controls. So we can have questions that show up in both, or maybe you don't want to ask intranet, your employees or existing employees, the questions. Maybe you want to send it afterwards, but you don't want to ask them as part of the application. So in here, and I go to career sites and I go down, you'll see ask questions. This means that on the career site, just like you saw, it's going to ask the questions. If I don't have that check, it would skip the questions, even if the question was attached to the position. So, if you are adding your questions and they don't show up, that's why in your career site it's disabled. Same idea on the intranet site. So perhaps I don't want to ask questions here for my employees because they're already employees, I already got their information. Maybe I don't need to ask them. I might send one as a follow-up, but this won't ask them by default. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put up a poll for those recruiting enhancements. We hope you found them useful, and let's see if the poll will pop up here. There it is. Put this up here for a couple of seconds. And I think it ended. Okay, so let's look at the HR enhancements right here. So first one I'm going to talk about is kind of a big one for companies that have more than one employer. You may use the custom localization today, but previously it was across the entire system. It didn't matter which employer you were in, it used the same across the board, which could cause problems. I mean, you could use things like a slash to separate it. But, if you got a company in, Canada, you got one in the UK, and you got one in the US, that national identifier, like the social security number, the SIN, those are different in different countries. So you might want to label them appropriately when people are looking at their demographic screen or whatever screen it is that you're going to do those custom localizations. So let me go to that setting. You see what this will look like here. And it's going to be under custom localizations. And if you're familiar with this, you may have seen this before, where it said the language, the token, and the custom localization, but this column is new, employers. All right, and let me show you what that looks like. I'll click on one, it doesn't matter, I can add a new one. But you'll see here, I can say it applies to everybody. So across the board, every employer, you're gonna call that field, in my situation, social security number, SIN. Very useful if all of my companies are Canadian and I wanna call it SIN. But maybe one of my companies is Canadian and one of them is in the United States or the UK or somewhere else, and it has a different name for that national ID or social, whatever you call that. So you may have a different name. You want it specifically for that employer or for more than one employer. So if you got 10 and 3 of them are all in Canada and you want to say SIN, then you select more than one. All right. And then I hit save and it does that. Now, importantly, what we did is any existing custom localization, they're going to say apply to all because that was how it worked previously. So now if you do want to go in and set it up differently for different employers, you'll need to come in and say, all right, this one we already have configured only applies to whatever employer it is, and then go to the other one and set one up for the other one or more companies. So that is allowing you to have custom localization to different employers. And just so it's clear, some people don't know what that means, the custom localization. When I look at a screen, for an example, the demographic screen, you've got a bunch of different fields out here, right? Perhaps you want to rename one like social security number to something else, or maybe you call additional phone work cell phone and you want to rename that. If you take the name of the field, like additional phone or social security number or anything, then you put in your custom localization, it will change it to the other thing here. Now, the important thing is after you set these up, I found that I have to hit refresh on my browser. You may not experience that. It depends on your browsers and how they refresh and stuff like that. Or, of course, if an employee logs in and they haven't logged in a while, it's just going to pick it up right away. But you'll notice that mine doesn't say SIN because I just need to refresh. So just be aware of that. If you do add one here, you may need to hit refresh on your browser or on the tab where you're showing that. But that's a custom localization, and that's now employer specific. All right, so speaking of the demographic screen, there are times where people want to have a different name show up, perhaps in your notifications or just, whatever, it's their nickname or their preferred name. They, maybe he goes by Sam, even though his first name is Ted, he goes by Sam. And what we were doing before is that these things over here would say, hi, Ted, or, maybe there's a birthday, it would say Ted's birthday is today. So like this. And people will say, I don't know who that Ted is. I only know Sam, so now we're going to show the preferred name. There's a new token available. It's at preferred name that you can put in your notifications to use that preferred name on the demographic screen. So in your notification layouts, I could go in there and I can use at preferred name in the various ones that are out here. Let me get away from the recruiting ones, but let's say a good one right here. So employee notification, and here you say like at first name, I might say at preferred name instead. So it would say hi Sam instead of hi Ted in this situation. Now, if they don't have a preferred name, we're going to go back to their first name. So if they haven't filled in that their name is Sam, it's going to say Ted, and they'll go, whoa, I don't know, you guys messed up. You just tell them to go ahead and put that in the preferred name field. So that's preferred name usage, and that works in our notifications that will show up over here and stuff like that. All right, automatic negative vacation balance rollover. So previously, you could set up plans in your time off that allowed you to have a negative balance. Maybe you allowed people to take time off before it actually got earned because they were accruing it and they want time off in 6 months. And by the time 6 months roll around, they're going to have it. So you let them take that in there. So if I go into, let's say, this paid time off plan as an example, there's going to be a checkbox in here that says allow negative. And if this is checked, I can put a cap in there and say, oh, they can only go negative 8 hours or 10 hours or something like that. But it would allow them to go negative, allow them to request more than they have available. What happened previously is that when the plan year ended and we carried over the balance from one year to the next, it would actually zero that out. So the employee kind of got a little reward. They would go from -8 to 0. So in other words, they're kind of getting 8 hours or whatever it was. So now what we've done is if this is allow negative and the plan year closes, it's going to carry over that negative. So -8 would be the beginning balance in the next plan year for that situation. So that's the allowing negative vacation balance rollover. If this is checked, it'll do it automatically. So let's look at another nice enhancement, this one around benefits and the workflow for open enrollment. So you may be aware that you can set up different enrollments for different periods. For an example, you're going to have your annual enrollment. And you're talking about the States, but I know Canada, you do enrollment stuff like this, but this is benefits enrollment. And it's, you're going to have your annual enrollment, but you also might have a new hire enrollment or a life event enrollment, like they got married, and so they can add their children or something like that. So what we've added is this enrollment type right here to the workflow. So you can have specific workflows for different types of enrollment. So here we go. A life event enrollment, I may have a different workflow than I might have for the scheduled or annual enrollment or new hire enrollment or manual enrollment. So you can add all four if they're all the same. Or if you do have one that's different for scheduled versus life event, you just choose scheduled. And of course, the same thing works with the groups and so forth like that. So if I'm saying the scheduled for the car audio department follows a certain workflow and then a different department has a different workflow, that's fine. But this scheduled would be different, possibly than a life event. So that's now there for your open enrollment workflows in there. All right. Let's talk a little bit about terminations of employees. So I'm going to go to an employee here. And sometimes you terminate people and there's an ongoing performance review and or you want to put notes about that termination. So, there's something going on with this person. Let me go ahead and just choose an employee that I know I want to terminate. And Megan here, she's leaving my company and I want to terminate her. So now we're going to show a couple of things here. Let me go ahead and terminate this person. I'll go ahead and terminate her as of today. Here you'll see the reason. I'll just choose resignation. So she's resigning effective today. Here's my termination note. So Megan got a great opportunity at another company. I don't know. All right, so that was the reason. Whatever the note is you might put over here. Maybe there was a situation where they got terminated for cause. And you want to put that over there in here about that particular termination. So that's right here to do this. And you're going to be able to see this in a second on her termination record. All right, I'm going to say she's eligible for rehire. This isn't new, but just to go here. Now, the steps up here, you'll notice here reviews and goals. That's a new thing up here. She doesn't have benefits, but benefits could be a step up here. And same thing with deductions. Those are things that we've had for a while that allows you to expire benefits and deductions during the termination process. Time off, if she had any time off plans, is asking me here, do I want to remove them automatically? Yes, I do. And here are some reviews where she's either the reviewer or she is being reviewed. And what do I want to do with these reviews that are out here? Now, these are outstanding reviews. These are not reviews that are already completed. These are ones where either she started and never finished, or she never started, or if she is, like in this situation, she's reviewing somebody else, she hasn't done that. And then as an example here, maybe her manager needs to review her. So all these situations where she's somewhere involved in the situation, it's herself, she's a peer, she's a manager, or a manager's, reviewing her, all those situations where she's involved. What do I want to do with those? You'll notice here, select reviews, and any goals that are attached to those reviews, they will be deleted. If I don't, they're going to be kept. Of course, she's no longer me participating in them, but they will be kept around maybe for historical purposes. You just want to see that she was the peer for Mabel. So you can do that. So if I select these here, they will be deleted from her record. All right, so now she's termed, and wanted to show you when I go into her position history and I go to that termination record. Oh, you know what? I chose today. Probably choose. Let me go back in and unterminate her real quick and choose a different date. Because I put it today, and so she's still actually technically active. Because I want to show that note, sample note. I'm not going to type that other one. And okay, go ahead and delete these. All right. Okay, I'll just have our team look at that there. But what it's going to do is in the history here, it will show the note. So this I wanted to show you is my sample note for her that I typed in. It shows up here because this is the termination. Now, this is only going to show on a termination, obviously. If she got like a pay increase or something, this isn't going to be here. But this allows you to access those notes if you ever need to go back and figure out why she was terminated. So that's our enhanced termination wizard, both the notes and the reviews and goals being removed, if you like. And finally, in HR, but really anywhere in the administration, I put it under HR, but would apply in recruiting and payroll, anywhere where you can get down to your data grids, we've now enhanced the export of these. So if you've ever exported a data grid, and I'll just click on one here, it used to export as just datagrid.xls or datagrid.csv. And that can be confusing because you may have a download folder and there's a whole bunch of files called datagrid and datagrid 1, 2, 3, etc. And you don't know which one is which. Maybe you look at the date and figure it out, or you open them up and you figure it out, but confusing. So what we've done is we're now exporting them out as the name of the data grid, assuming that you've saved the name. So if I haven't saved it, we don't know what you want to call it. And if you do save it, we're going to take this name. So in my situation, employee email salary list, if I go ahead and export, is going to be the name of the export. Now, it didn't change the formatting of the export, but now it is called employee email salary list.xlsx. So really useful there. Of course, if you already had that same one there, it'll do a 1, a 2, whatever your browser does. If there's a duplicate, maybe it asks you if you want to overwrite, but it will use the name when you go ahead and use that from the saved ones. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put up another poll here for these HR enhancements. And I do want to thank everybody who has submitted customer feature requests. Most of these things come from those customer feature requests. We go and we try to pick out 20 to 30 ideas in there, especially those ones that are highly upvoted, and add them into the system. I know for a fact this one came from there, but I believe most of these other ones did too. They came from our customer feature requests. And if you're not familiar with that, I do like to show that during the demos here or the webinar, is you can do that right here under help and new idea right here. So when I click this, it'll take me over to the customer feature request portal, and you'll see here like start of application. So whatever Tara asked for here, we're going to look at this and we're going to evaluate this here. And if you have a great idea, just hit new post and put out there whatever your idea is. And if you happen to have some free time, you can go through and read what other people have been asking for. And you'll notice how we have votes here. These things that are voted highly, we are obviously going to look at those a little bit more than ones that just have 0 1 votes, like 3 votes. That's pretty good. 2 votes, those are all good. So you might want to come in here and say, yeah, this request to organize candidates by hiring status, that sounds great. I'm going to go and vote that up. Or maybe I'm going to leave a little bit of a comment in here about this. So you can put down some comments. Say, yeah, this would be really useful. I think we should do, blah, 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 and whatever that is. So here's how you can upvote it. If you want to follow the topic because maybe you did contribute and you want to see what everybody else says, you're certainly welcome to do that. All right, back to our program here. So some changes in self-service. So some self-service enhancements around the timesheet. And we're going to look at a couple of things here. So first off is an enhancement to the mass approval / mass rejection of timesheets. So this is really useful if you are a system administrator, and that is the key. You do need to be a system administrator. You may want to be able to approve or reject the timesheets for the pay period. Maybe you're waiting for somebody to get it done. Everything's been submitted, but a manager's out or they're in a meeting and they're stuck, and you got to get payroll done. And you say, you know what, I'm just gonna, I texted them, they said, go for it. I'm gonna approve it myself. So when you go to this right here, mass submit, approve, and reject, and you check this box, you'll have this option to show all the unapproved timesheets. And then you can approve or reject them. So you would select one or more, you could put a comment in here, and you can approve or reject. It's basically doing the exact same thing that would happen if you went into the tracking here in a workflow and you were to approve it automatically. So in here, you can override. So it's doing the same thing. You're going to leave a comment about whatever the situation is. So you're going to say, I'm approving it because Sally was in a meeting and she said everything was okay. And so you might put that as your comment. This is required regardless of approval or rejection. So you have to put a comment there. In the workflow, it would show that it went from perhaps Sally to you, and so it would show that right here that you were the one who actually did it. It was originally assigned to Sally, but you can now do that. Now you do have to be in the security profiles a system administrator to be able to do this. So what we're talking about here is there's a default security profile called System Administrator. That needs to be assigned to you as the employee. So if you go to your security, first off, you may not have access to this, but here's your security. It would need to say System Administrator right here in your roles. Now, there might be other roles in there, but it would need to say System Administrator for you to be able to do this. All right, so that is the mass approving or rejection of timesheets by system administrators. The other one is around timesheet security. So we have some clients where managers, foremen, supervisors, et cetera, do the time entries for the employees. And they still want the employees to be able to see the time entries, but not be able to edit the time entries. So we've now added that into our security where you can say they have view only access to the timesheet and they don't have edit access. So if you go into a security profile besides system administrator, which is the one you can't touch, and you go down, you're going to see two new things here, depending on, you might have it sorted, but you're going to see my timesheets view and my timesheets edit. If these are both here, it's just going to be like it is, before this update, where the employee can go in, they can edit their timesheet, or they can, clock in, put their time in, whatever, change their project, etc. They can edit it. If they only have view, they can see their timesheet and the hours and everything that just your timesheet, but they can't edit it. So they might be able to submit it or just review it, but they're not going to be able to edit the timesheet in that situation. And of course, if they have neither of them, they won't see their timesheet at all. So what we did is, if people had access to their timesheet before, there was a security profile in here that said timesheets or my timesheets. If they had access to that, we added both of these to the employee. So nothing's going to change. If you only want to have people go through and have view access, you need to remove the edit from the security profile or profiles where people should not be able to edit the timesheet. You would simply remove this. So you'll see these there when you go and look, of course, after the update, and then you can go ahead and edit your security profiles. And of course, going forward, if you add a new security profile and somebody should have both, make sure you add both. All right, so couple small tweaks under self-service, very powerful ones, especially with a mass approval. We're going to go ahead and put up a poll about this. I think there it is. All right. So we're going to talk about some enhancements in payroll right here. So you'll see total hours in the payroll grid, electronic W-2 consent, and additional overtime tokens. So it doesn't look like a lot, but it's actually very powerful. The first one is a small change in your payroll grid. So if you're the payroll processor, you now have a column here called hours total. So similar to like gross pay and taxes and deductions, it's just the totals from the payroll batch detail for the employee. So you'll see the total hours here. So if I look at Chris, he's got 40 total hours. I can go in here and you'll notice that it does say 40 total hours right here as well. So of course it should match up with that. And that was the intent of this, is that it will show the same hours that are in here. This doesn't stop you from showing the incomes and seeing the hours for each income code, but it does make it very easy to be able to just sort this or see the hours from a glance for your employees here in the payroll grid. So a small change, but I think a very powerful one, because you just want to see very quickly. Maybe you sort by this column, and if you come in here, you see 400, you go, wait a minute, what the heck's going on here? Why does somebody have 400 hours? Or you see something that maybe a little bit different. You can sort by this. Of course, if you don't need that, if it's not important to you, maybe you're all salaried, you can turn it off and not have that there. It's hours total column, but a very useful little column there. You still can come into here, this drop down, and hit show income columns and see them broken down by your various incomes. The total hours will still be here, but you'll see it now. Mine is broken down. I can see he had 40 regular. So that is still available for you, but that's a new column there available in payroll. Right. So that is that. A change we made to, or I should say an enhancement, not a change, to overtime. is sometimes you have overtime rules where, depending on the day of the week, they may get overtime. And previously we had that for Saturday and Sunday, but we found that some people had rules where maybe on a Friday there was overtime or some other day of the week. So we've added all of those tokens to the formulas here. So you may be familiar with these, and some of these it might be a little esoteric. You don't know what these all mean. This is an overtime rule, let's say for California, where anytime they're working 8 hours in a day, more than 8 hours in a day, more than 40 in a week, or they work on the 7th day, they are going to get overtime. Now, if you want to specify the 7th day, and maybe your pay period is Monday to Sunday, you could put Sunday here, or in other words, SUN. So we do abbreviate the first 3 letters. We do SUN as an example. So rather than saying day 7, you put SUN there. That would also work. So all 7 days of the week are there. I'll just go through them very quickly. MON is Monday, TUE is Tuesday, WED is Wednesday, THU is Thursday, FRI is Friday, SAT is Saturday, and SUN is Sunday. So those are all available for you to put in your formulas here for overtime if you need it. And of course, you could combine it. You could say like Saturday and Sunday more than 0 is, overtime. So I could do something like this. That would be overtime on a Saturday, even though it's not a particular numbered day of the week. So, like I said, a great enhancement. Maybe doesn't apply to a lot of companies, but there are ones where perhaps they have a collective bargaining agreement or something, and so that might need to apply there. So that is our overtime enhancements, overtime token enhancement there. Our next one is for electronic consent for W-2s. So we've added a new setting here. First off, we've renamed notification to preferences. And we have a new setting in here that says paperless delivery for this. So this is where the employee can see their email address and phone number that would be used for notifications. That's why we put it here. And we're saying for paperless delivery of your tax documents, they need to opt in. Let me show you what that will do here, just so you can see. I might not be able, here we go. When you click this here, this little pop-up is going to come up because we want them to agree to something and not just check a box. We want them to understand that if they click agree, they're not going to get a paper copy of their tax documents. We'll send it to them in email, perhaps, or just upload it to self-service, but they're not going to get a paper copy by default. Now, you could still go into this thing, and I believe you can still print them out if you needed to, but they are opting out of this. Now, what we're doing is this will not be checked by default. The employee has to go in and agree to this. I believe that's an IRS rule, so we can't just go in there and say, yeah, turn it on for everybody. If you happen to be using Atrix, this will go and update Atrix as well. So you'll be able to pass that into Atrix if they've opted in. So you may want to just remind your employees, maybe put a notification out there in your community saying, please click on the gear icon and go and enable your W-2 consent. Now, what that means is when I go to actually print my W-2s, let me go over there and go to payroll. You'll see here when I do it, it's going to give me the option to publish these. So let's wait for my thing here to load. Apologize for a little bit of a delay here. I'm not sure what's going on with my internet. But under tax filings, if I go to my W-2s, and I'm going to do them for this year here, give it a second. So I'm going to choose that company, employee copy, 2023. I'm just going to do one person because actually, let me make sure I have that checked off there. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm going to update that. All right, so now that I have that updated and I select this, here you'll see the delivery option right here. I don't even know if he has any money this year. He has a little bit. Okay, so here you'll see the delivery option, publish paperless, print paper copies. Because he has that checked, if I do print paper copies, he's not going to come out there. Publish paperless is going to publish it to self-service because I have that enabled. He's going to get a notification when I publish that. So it'll say, your W-2 is now available. Now, there is a little bit of configuration that needs to happen in your settings, and that's in your document delivery about where it goes, because you can call folders, different things, but it would publish out to him now electronically, and so he would get that. So that is the electronic W-2 consent right there. All right, so we are going to put up another poll here, and then I have a little surprise for everybody after this poll comes up. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get this to work today, which is to show our new mobile app. And I know we have a couple of QR codes that I'm going to put out here as well, so you can see these. You'll be able to download this. But if you go to your App Store or Google Play Store and you search for Criterion HCM, you will see it out there. Let me see if I can join this on my phone and present from there. So give me 1 second to see if this will work here. I apologize if any type of echo happens while switching over.
Hey Steve, we actually can't hear you if you're talking right now. If the I don't know if you can hear us, but we cannot hear you currently.
I don't know why you calling me. Is it not working? Is my audio not working?
We can hear you now.
Oh, weird. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
we couldn't hear the earlier
I apologize,
things
everybody.
you were showing. Yep.
It said my audio was working. So
Thank you, Connor, for calling me. Let me kind of start over a little bit. I apologize for that slight delay there. So this is the new mobile app available in your app stores in Google and Android, or sorry,
App Store, where you can use our mobile app. So this is where our development is going forward. Our existing one is going to, the current version is going to be available and still supported for a while. I don't know if we have a time frame for when we're going to cut that off, but that's still going to be available. You know, bug fixes and things are going to still happen there, and it'll still work just fine. But this is the future for us here. It is, as you can see in the top right, a beta. So this is where you can see where we're still considering it a beta, but it's a public beta. So if you've ever used a public beta of, let's say, iOS or something like that, similar idea. I wouldn't recommend using this as the only Criterion app, but if you want to play around with it and see it, I think it looks much nicer than our older app. And everything that I've tested works. So maybe you'll come across something that doesn't work, or if you have ideas, you'll see this feedback right here where you can say, hey, I tapped on this and I got an error message about whatever it is. So you'll have that option right there. All right, let me go back here. The recently used is going to show you the things that you've opened recently. So recruiting and pay are there because I've tapped into those. As you use the system, that'll update and kind of show the last thing you use. So it makes it easy to get back to it. Pay, pretty straightforward there. It's going to show my pay history. You get direct access to my pay history. And then inbox is my tasks. So I'm able to see those things I need to do, like a performance review for a bunch of people and some onboarding things. So my tasks are right there. Here you'll see the clock in and out functionality. So just like before, it's using GPS, and I can clock in, choose my pay code and so forth. So all of that is the same there. And then this is where all the other apps are located. So it's just basically, as you can see there, the different screens that you might see in self-service. So if I wanted to go to my information and look at my demographics, I can do that right here. And perhaps I want to change something on my demographics, I can do that right here. So I could go through, you'll notice it is this is approved, but maybe I wanted to put in my mobile phone number here. I can edit this and put in whatever my phone number is, and then submit this in. You'll notice the check in the top right corner. That'll follow the workflow if there is one for demographics. Same type of thing with address, dependence and emergency contacts. So same idea that exists already with those. Team timesheets. So if you are, let's say, a manager and you want to see the timesheets for your people, go out there, select the appropriate groups if there are any. What period do I want to do here? I'll do my current period, and I haven't done this before because I just downloaded the latest version right before this meeting. So let's see, what is it, this pay period? And now I can see the team timesheets. I could do a team punch, mass submitting, and mass approving. So I can do that in there and see anything. I don't have anything submitted, so I can't do that. Here you go. I can submit these. Okay, and sign it or use my saved signature. I can put that in there and submit timesheets. So that's the team timesheets. The time off is going to give me access to be able to see my time off balances, of course, including the time off that's been taken. And then I can make a request by hitting the plus down here in the bottom right, just so you can see that here. There's my available balances out there. And I can say I want to do sick leave as an example. And let's just choose Halloween. It could be all day. It could be, part of the day. I do have these fields as required, so I have to put them in here and submit that. Okay, so very simple, and you'll notice my balance is right up there along the top. And then documents would be whatever documents are out there in your different folders. So I have a number of documents out there. I can see these, and this would take me to whatever that document is, the PDF version of those different documents that I can look at. Onboarding, I finished all my onboarding, so it's 100% completed, but you can see all my onboarding tasks. And so you'll see that right there. And then timesheets. Well, I already looked at time entry, but here are my timesheets. So if I want to go in and look at a timesheet, I can see that timesheet and the information on that particular timesheet. Now, because I've done all those things, when I come back out here, you'll notice how these icons have all populated because I've been in there. I did want to go back to recruiting real quick. That was when Connor called me. Here you can see the position. And then here are the candidates that are in there, so I can look at those people and see what's going on with them. So here's the basic of that person, and I can go in and look at their, interview information, their questions and so forth. He didn't have any, but if he had questions, I could look at those answers in there. So that's at a high level, pretty in depth, our new mobile app that's available. We encourage you to try it out and give us feedback if there's anything on there. This is where we're concentrating on our mobile development. So this will be the version that's supported going forward. And you're certainly welcome to use it today. Like I said, I would recommend having both just in case there's something that's not in here, because there are certainly things that are not in here that are in our other mobile app. And so have them both, but stuff like clocking it out, it works great in here. And all those other functions that you saw, I didn't have any bugs. So I would have nothing to submit as feedback unless I said, hey guys, we want to add A, B, and C. So that might be feedback you provide. This is a little different than the customer feature requests that we showed you in in administration. It does go through a different path. It goes to our mobile team versus the other one goes to our support and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if there's I don't know if you guys put a poll up for our mobile app. I apologize, Sergey, if I didn't send that over to you. Looks like I didn't, because he didn't say anything. So I do want to put up a quick slide that is the QR codes to this, so you don't have to search into Android or iOS App Store. So let me go ahead and switch back over to my Zoom meeting here, where it is. Here it is. Sorry, I apologize for a little bit of delay. And you should be able to see this. So there's the QR codes for the iOS and Android versions. So whatever you happen to be using, you can scan those things with your phone and it'll take you right to the App Store or the Google Play Store, and you can download the latest version out there so that you can feel free to play around and try those different apps out. And we would appreciate any feedback that you have out there for that. So I don't know if I saw there was quite a bit of questions and answers in there, and we do have a couple of minutes, so I'm just going to go through. I don't know if there's any questions out there that Patrick or Connor, you can say were really important for everybody to know about. I know that there's there were a whole bunch of things, and I apologize for the audio issues. Let me switch over to my other presentation, which is the end of the slideshow, because I do want to remind everybody that we have a little bit of a difference in the way we're releasing this time, in that normally what we do is we apologize here, I should stop sharing. Normally what we do is we put it all out at the same time. And this time we're doing it a little differently because we are having a little bit of a delay. So let me bring that back up again and we can talk about that real quick, and then we'll let you go for today. I do want to thank everybody for joining. I apologize a little bit for that, or I apologize a lot for that right there. Oh, you put up a poll for the new mobile app. So while that's out there, I will let that go through and I will talk about our release plan. Do thank you for your feedback on here. All right, thank you so much for that. All right, so as I mentioned at the beginning here, here's our release plan. I just realized the date is wrong on here. Today's the 25th, not the 23rd. I didn't go back in time. So today's the 25th, but the release dates for the actual product. So the EU/UK is going to be updated over the weekend. I believe it's going to be like Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure exactly how the time's up, but it'll be updated over the weekend. You won't have any downtime unless you happen to be, up in the middle of the night. And then we're going to update Canada Sunday/Monday morning. So by the time you roll in on Monday morning, it will be updated for all of our Canadian clients. We are going to not update during the week because obviously there's a lot of important things that might be happening in the week. For example, payroll. So we're not going to touch anything during the week for the US. And so next weekend, Sunday night/Monday morning, we're going to update the US. And apologize, there is a little bit of a delay. It's just we're doing a lot of improvements on the back end that you don't see, but they're crucial. And so that's how that is going to work for us. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to, whoops, this is not updated. I do want to talk about our upcoming webinars in 2 weeks. If you were not here yesterday, in 2 weeks, we do have a webinar for US year-end in payroll. And so that is something that if you're a payroll person, you're probably going to be very interested in seeing that there. And we hope to see you there if you are a payroll person. 2 weeks after that, let me bring up the schedule for this here. 2 weeks after that, we're going to be talking to our Canadian folks about Canadian year-end payroll. So here's the schedule for this here. So November 21st, so if you kind of back it out, November 7th, we're going to be talking about US payroll. I don't have that on here, but US payroll, year-end, they are going to be the same here. So when you see it twice, it's not like this is a continuation. This is the same one. We just realize that sometimes you can't make it to one or the other, so we do it twice. You're certainly welcome to join both of them, but the US on the 7th, then on the 21st, Canada, and then back to the US on December 5th, and then December 19th, Canada. So kind of back and forth on there. And then we'll get into January. We're going to be talking more about HR stuff. We'll have Affordable Care Act reporting, 2 of those in January, or sorry, 1 in January, 1 in February. But we'll get back to HR and learning. We're not going to just spend all our time on payroll. So I want to thank everybody for your questions. I apologize for the audio issues when I was showing the app. And do appreciate your time today. We hope that you like the software. Please give us your feedback. If you do have any questions about anything that we didn't answer today, or of course, ongoing questions, you'll see here, help@criterionhcm.com. You can reach out to us. It will talk to your customer support manager, and you will be able to get fantastic support from those folks with any questions that you have. Thanks again for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And I'll speak to you soon.